Hello there. I'm in the entryway or the Porte Cochere of this beautiful single-story timber frame home. Now, a Porte Cochere like the one you see here, it's pretty big. You got room for 2 cars, zip in and out, and right by the front door, or if you're entertaining, it's easy access, easy to drop people off. No rain, no snow, right into the front door, kind of like a red carpet feeling, right? Why do homeowners not put porte cocheres like this one here on their homes more often? The short answer is, without a single story that's rather expansive, pokes out like a sore thumb, it can dominate a structure. So this is a big structure, and it would really look out of place if the home was any smaller. If this home were to be a 2-story, 2-story looks a lot smaller than a 1-story, and this would be simply too big to make it look good. There's only so much you can do with sleight of eye, with the design and all the tricks that we pull out of our bag to make it work. So that's kind of the big picture thing here. The single story, drive in, zing into the house, no steps, no fuss, no muss, no bother. It's really a cool thing to have if it works for your architecture and what you want out of a home. Okay, one other factor with this porte cochere, and you'll see this with a lot of our designs because it's a 1-2 punch. You'll notice the angles on these posts here, they do 2 things. They cut down the span to where this is a big load, but the span is cut down, and it also gives lateral bracing backwards and side to side like this. So it's really a 1-2 punch for buildability, and it also gives that visual weight, that visual stability that makes it feel so robust and so secure. It's not just the timbers that feel warm, secure, long-lived, and all this. It's also how it all fits together in context, and that's an integral piece of this angled piece here. All right, let's go take a look inside. This theme continues on the inside, and it's great. As we move into the interior, we're gonna have to do this in multiple shots to really convey all that's going on here. Let's go ahead and start with that angled post piece from the outside, how that pulls to the inside here. Again, it's cutting down the span. It adds lateral bracing, massing, visual massing. You'll notice the stone is not here. If you're going for an even more robust look, and this is fairly robust, you might add stone to the interior. That's used many times to delicious effect as well. As it is, these timbers are big enough, they come down by themselves without any stone, and they feel right. Okay, so that's one point. One other thing you notice here is the spacing. See how that truss, that far truss, is relatively close to that far wall? So why, I ask, did we not divide this space up into equal portions and have equal, equal, equal? That is a question I can't answer completely in this short walkthrough that we're doing right here. But in general, when it comes to truss spacing like this, throw away your tape measure, throw away any sort of symmetry and ideas you have that way. And it could work out that symmetry is the sweet spot. In general, what we do is in the 3D model, we figure out kind of the truss that's gonna look right, and we'll police them by eye. Just kind of move them around by eye, because your eye can figure out where the magnetic north is, so to speak here. And in this case, these trusses are spread to fit the heart of what's going on. Make sense? So that's a point I wanted to call to your attention. You can also see it's in the porte cochere, and it's also in the patio out back, but we don't have rafters going down. You've got this big, long, continuous beam going all the way through with the 2x12 rafters above, and that's another look that is just one of many things you can do. In this case, it It exposes that truss, the big heavy timber truss that's set down from the ceiling, so it's more accentuated. It's a little bit of a throwback to what you might see in old timber frame barns and homes. That's another way to get a little bit more rustic. So let's take another look at this from another angle. I've got more to show you. Here we are in the heart and liver of the home. We've got the great room here. The trusses are spread to match this energy point here, right in the great room. And the fireplace is also part of this, and the kitchen is just on the other side, which will show a shot of that in a bit. This mantle, look at that. Who would think to put a metal roof with these beams and all worked in on the mantle? I mean, how does that work out? The answer is following a theme, following balance, and just a ton of ideas. With this particular idea, I kid you not, I went through 100 variations of different mantles before the thing finally crumbled and this fit. And one of the reasons this fits so nice is you've got these little supports. It supports a little roof. There's a rusted metal roof on top. And then in the entry, we've got this metal roof on both sides. So you get 3. And the metal roof on the entry brings the entry to where it's not tall, narrow, and cramped. It opens it up, and it also brings in kind of that rustic theme, as well as there's shutters, sliding barn doors. So the rustic element in there that really plays well. You've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's a really, really powerful concept in design and speech and nature everywhere. So when it works to use this in architecture, do it. This really looks like a kitchen you could entertain easily in. It's got the warm beam ceilings, stove, the big workspace. Just really resonates with everything else that's going on here. One thing I'd like to call your attention to is these posts that we've talked about earlier. When posts are in the interior like this, and they come all the way down, it really spikes the rustic factor. Outside, not so much. But inside, it really is fascinating, because you could take, if you box this out and put finished cabinetry, like some panels and whatnot, it would bring the rustic factor down. And if you take the post out completely and have it in a wall, now you're a little bit more like the Mediterranean, where the wood and the heavy warmth is way up high, but now you bring it down to the ground with an actual post on the interior, and it brings some solid rustic warmth. But that is a concept that you can use for your own good or own purposes as you're thinking about what really might fit you and your style. Here in the front of this garage, you maybe notice these corbels behind me, corbel brackets. There's 2 of them on each side of the garage door, and the question is why? Why 2? And this happens to do with, it has to fit the bigger context. One of the things it does is it brings the span down between the piece spanning across the top, the beam up above, which is almost completely hidden. And another thing that it does is it ups the rustic factor. If you were to visualize this with just singles, with everything else being as heavy as it is, it really didn't fit. And it also gave a place for lights. You can see the lights peeking out between these here. Everything considered, for the width of the garage and for the size of the overhang, that is really what fit. When we first started working with this home plan, this was designed with just a gable end straight there, but this Dutch hip, creating a Dutch hip supported by rafters, just made sense. It gave a place to put timbers, and sometimes we'll make an excuse, find a place to put timbers just so that, because it works. And on the other side, there's also the angle, the heavy angle that's set with the Porte Cochere, that's replicated in the corbels on both sides of it. So it really kind of brushes out and fits well. Okay, out here in back, we have the same Same architecture, same lines, and the beams going right down the center again with the top chord brought down to accentuate that. And one thing I didn't point out in front, which is here in the back, is you'll see this post right here is tapered. It's subtle enough that you don't really catch it, but it makes all the difference in the world. If that post were straight, this would feel a little bit top heavy. And the stone coming up, really a nice back patio here, and it just flows right on through. So it's an extension of the great room. And you can't see it here, but there's a beautiful pond, a lot of ducks, a lot of wildlife. This is south facing, ton to like about it. What would you do if you had to take this big shop? It's got big RV doors, big doors for everything here. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big garage doors plus a man door. What would you do to take this big box and beautify it? And another problem with this, it's next to timber for hybrid single-story timber frame. When you get a building this big, it can make the house look small if you don't handle things right. So I'd like to point out a few things that were done here. Originally, this was a big box with just one step in the roof to try to break it up. On the ridge, I'll start with the small details. On the ridge, you'll notice like a winter type of venting system that's used in cold country. And you'll see this on a lot of lodges and that style of building, which is a style that's being emulated here. So that broke up the roof line a little bit. We had a porch roof supported by these timber brackets. And those brackets, by the way, don't look so substantial here in the context of this big hybrid timber frame shop. But if these were on sawhorses, you'd be like, ugh, this is gonna take 2 men and a beast to move. They're huge. So working all this out, putting the ridge in, the gable here, and then over on this other side, there's the main gable, but there's a tail that comes down over the man door, and it just softens the edges, it blends things together, and it really sings in chorus and harmony with what's going on at the residence. So, dodge that bullet. We've got a beautiful shop now that is softened. It doesn't look like a big box that's just dominating everything. It's artistic, it's beautiful, and it's expressive. Aero timber. Hey, if you want to see one idea that never made it past the drawing board, but it's really cool, that you could use for future idea or just to kind of know about it, I'm going to show you some shots of what might have been cantilever jacuzzi cover. It was cantilevered so it didn't block view from a master bedroom. Again, this is necessity mother of invention, is how these ideas really come to be. And this is just really cool. So take a look at it, and if you really like it, hey, let's do business.